have, which in the culture that we're in, and I'll say I won't speak to others, but at least for Nigeria, there's the family front. There's a lot of other things that women carry that you may not see in the workplace. They're sometimes the caretaker for their parents, for their siblings, different things. And so women's problems, yes, I'm not saying men don't have problems, but women's problems in the workplace, it's a quiet burnout because they're there and they want to make sure they're standing out and they're doing what they need to do to make sure they don't see it as, oh, it's because she's a woman, or oh, it's this, or oh, it's that. So there's the work stuff, and then there's that, what I call, it's a very slow burn, but it's there and it's ongoing, and it's something that now moving to the corporate side, companies can mitigate with flexibility, for those who require it, childcare, with good health care, just different things. If companies put certain things in place, then it creates an environment where
people are more productive.
Yeah. And for women, they don't feel like they have to choose. They don't feel like if I need to run for a school run, or if I need to, whatever the emergency is, my younger sister needs me. They're not penalized for it because the company allows flexibility. It's not so rigid. So yes, the problems are looked at a little different because 8 out of 10 times in this environment, you would have the women running out of work because they got a call from their child's school. I'm not saying the dads don't get calls, but it's mostly the women. So there are all these things. So if they're working in an environment that doesn't allow for those flexibilities, then it seems like difficult. A problem. Yeah. It's like, oh, she's always leaving, or she always has a problem.
And I find it very interesting because I know that it's not only specific to Nigeria, but I feel like there's a cultural component to a lot of our corporate culture that is not necessarily about logic and is more about like culture and people's like personal preferences. Like, so for example, I find that, and I don't know if this is changing, and it's probably different from organization to organization, but I find that there'll be women who have been in an organization since, and things like maybe they were not giving maternity leave for more than 2 months or whatever, and they get to corporate leadership. Instead of like advocating for more flexibility, they're like, at the end of the day, did I not do it? Like, yeah, woman, having children and being a wife is not an excuse to not do the work. And we don't talk enough about that. You were calling it a slow burnout, but the fact that women have to work almost twice as hard because a man is supposed to provide. So he's supposed to go to work anyway, right? But women have to contribute financially, or maybe don't have to, but they're contributing more financially now, but also still carrying the burden of, you come home, you have to make sure everybody has eaten, everybody is well taken care of. Like, it's a lot. Like, cause that motherhood and wifehood, like, they're very, it's a job. Like, they're very real jobs. So I feel like a lot of women are literally working 2 jobs and we don't talk about that enough.
No, you're right. And I won't say all female leaders are like that, but you will run into some. That I will say that, look, they went through a really tough time in their growth, in their career growth, and faced a lot of, challenges, some cultural, some just because the system is set up a certain way. And they get to the top and it's like, well, I went through it and I didn't die, so you won't either.
Yeah.
Then you have those who do try to pull the women behind them and say, look, I may have gone through that, but let's try and do things a little differently. Yeah. Before I had even had a child, I had spoken to my boss in the current company that I work for, Oil, and talked about maternity leave. And I wasn't even anywhere. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, because I'm close to it. I wasn't engaged, nothing like that. But I spoke to him about maternity leave because for me, it's something where a period where you lose women, especially young women who are just starting families. They don't have the whole system set up, and you've got this very short maternity period and you're expecting to be back at work and be plugged in. It's not going to happen. I had, I guess, the luxury of having older sisters and seeing that, look, it's a lot of work. And so luckily I had a boss who understands and gets it. He's a family man himself. He has kids. He's married. And we extended from the typical, well, say, maternity leave in Nigeria, made it 6 months. And after 6 months, you have flexible hours. You can either resume earlier or close, resume later, or close earlier, just to accommodate what the needs are. And I think it's really important in any work environment to have, whether it's the CEO, whoever that decision-making person is when it comes to a lot of these HR policies, to understand. And there needs to be someone that can speak up, because if the environment isn't fitting, it's really going to disrupt things. Unless someone can say, well, this is why, and I've heard someone say this is why I don't hire younger women. I prefer women who are done having kids, because that maternity period apparently is disruptive. And I'm like, okay, but older or more mature women, even if they have kids, they still require flexibility. Things happen, things come up, and it may not just be about kids. They may have no kids, but they've got family. They're just things that happen. And as you said, in this environment in Nigeria, it is expected that it's the woman that handles a lot of these things. So organizations themselves need to put things together. And I think it's really important for women, young, whether you feel, okay, well, I'm young in my prime, I'm not even thinking married. At some point you will be, or you may be, and maybe you're in that company you started with. So you want to ask what their policies are, ask about the culture during the interviews, ask them to speak about it, ask if you can speak to, are there any female managers that I can speak to in the department? If they say there are none, that's a conversation you want to have with the person interviewing you, because it's important to see the environment you're getting yourself into. You don't want to get there and then you realize, no, this place is not actually conducive for me to be able to balance my life. And then you end up burning out. It affects your work. And then it's just kind of it's a slow burn on the outside, but on the inside, everything's happening all at once. So.
You know what's so interesting? I see both sides. Like on one hand, when I think about maybe when we first started working in Nigeria and how grotesque it was, like to be debating about how long maternity leave should be, right? Now it's all very like, oh, you can't say that, or you can't say this. Before, like, a man will look you dead in the eye and say, you should have not be a teacher if you knew that you wanted to be having children. Like dead in the eye. But on the other hand, I've also seen, I think it's important for women to also know what their goals are. And like you said, like have conversations like with people in the workplace to figure out like what the culture is and what, the expectations will be. Because I think that there are also women who, because we have to be honest about this, because you know how sometimes women are not always the victims, like, but there are also women who abuse
the system.
Where it's now, your employer needs you to be productive to affect their bottom line, right? It's like they need to make a profit. That is why they are in business. But I've seen some people abuse the system, and it's like, I don't know whether to call this an abuse, because if you want to have babies back to back every year, like that's a choice, right?
It is.
But at what point do we say this is affecting work? Or is this a case where if a woman decides that she wants to do that, how can she step up, like, to make it a bit more balanced? Because that would be disruptive. Like, if every single year, like,
the person is out.
You're out, like...
and it's a key role or position, senior. No, it will be. And it's a little sensitive, because you don't want to tell someone, well, no, you can't. Well, some people do, but you really should not tell people, or be
able to tell people that.
Oh no, you already had a kid, you can't have one next year. No, that's really no one's business but the people involved in making that child. That being said, I think it's really important to have processes in place from the corporate side to protect yourself. So you can have your maternity, whether you choose for it to be 3, 4, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever it is. And have wording there that protects the company as well. Ensure before that person is going on maternity leave, the handover has been so seamless that if they didn't come back for a stretch, you almost don't feel it. So the conversation is more about, look, this person's been gone, and when they were meant to come back, they said, oh, oops, they're pregnant again. And so is it more about that conversation? Okay, do we retain? Do we give them a sabbatical and then say, look, when you're done with this, you come? Do you give them a percentage of pay, or is it full pay? There are different angles to go about it without it being contentious, so to speak. But yes, it's all in the policies, because different companies put when women are meant to disclose. Obviously, it's not in the beginning. Women are not expected to tell, because even doctors say, look, wait till everything end of first trimester. But different companies have different things. Some say 4 months, some say 5. As into the pregnancy, let your company know. So that gives enough time for a proper and clean handover to whether it's one person or a team that you're handing over to. So business continuity happens, and things don't just fall because one person has gone on maternity leave. So those processes and things do need to be in place to ensure the company is protected, and to an extent to ensure that the employee is also protected and understands what it is they're meant to be doing.
This episode is sponsored by Ion Capital. Ion Capital is one of Africa's leading investment banking and asset management firms. With its UAE licensed multi-family office serving high net worth individuals and offices in Lagos, Abuja, and Dubai, Ion Capital brings global standards and deep local insights to every transaction. Get in touch with them via email. contact@ion.africa to discuss your investment banking and asset management requirements.
So it's 2025, right? And things have changed a lot, like in terms of how, I guess, on the face of it, we deal with women in the workplace. But do you think that women are still penalized for taking time off work to be pregnant? Like, do you think that it still affects them? And if what kind of strategies do you think that they can employ to make sure that, because, you know, we're Nigerian women, we're not Igbo, like let me not generalize, a lot of us, like, we want the career, we want the kids, we want, you know, all of it. But from a HR perspective, I guess what I'm trying to say is, how can a young woman sort of like plan better, right? As in, to balance like those situations.
So again, it boils down to the companies. I can't speak generally. We're in 2025. Some companies have amazing benefits, policies, and things that are geared more towards women, not even just the maternity leave, but also the paternity leave. And they have clauses in there that when you come back, even if it's not the exact same position, because maybe some changes have been made, but you come back at the level that you left. Sometimes in small situations, you may come back and they put you up saying, look, you were a star. We know you're just coming back, settle in, but we're moving you to this position.
I love that.
That happens. So it really boils down to the company culture. And I think women shy away from asking these questions in interviews. And even when they get in, saying, oh, if I ask, I may be looked at like this or like that. And it's to your detriment at the end of the day. Because if you don't ask, or if you're uncertain, if it's not stuff that is written there that you can see in a handbook, you're playing it by ear. So maybe it's one person who just decides, look, they say this person said they're pregnant. Okay, cut them. I'm not, because there's not actually anything written. So you need to ask these questions from the interview stage. Have your, I think most HR people, and even the interviewing manager, if not HR, will typically say at the end, do you have any questions? Ask those questions. And if you ask something regarding maternity, they'll say, well, in Nigeria, they will ask you, are you pregnant? So you can say, pregnant. So it's like, no, I'm not. I'm just asking for the future. You know, I do want a family in the future, or whether it's that you have a family already, or whether it's that you're taking care of elderly parents or family members or whatever the case may be. But ask those questions. You are better off knowing and deciding, look, this is for me or this is not for me, than thinking, you know what, I really want this job. I just want to get in and then I'll figure it out. And then you get in and you can't figure it out because you're not in the position to change the culture or the policies in that place. So it's just asking those questions. I know they may seem hard, but you need to ask.
Do you know, it's so funny.